I'm Scott Weatherly, and welcome to 20th Century Geek. And we're back for part 3, the final part of our Halloween trilogy.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yes.
And as you can see, Mike is back. We've done our reviews. So, previous shows, we reviewed Evil Dead, classic, Poltergeist, classic, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, zenith of the Freddy Krueger films, and Alien 2, Sula Terra, an example of Italian filmmaking.
A very small example.
Not the best example, but
No.
but still, it was a good watch. It was good fun to talk about.
Well,
and,
I'd have to disagree with you on it was a good watch, but it was an interesting experience.
It was an interesting, and it was a fun chat.
And we shared it together.
Yeah, it was a good
as two new lovers do.
It was a good, interesting discussion, and I just want to say, in true British fashion, ready for Halloween, we just sat here having a cup of tea. So if we're here slurping, it's cups of tea.
Yep. Emma Bridgewater mugs, darling.
Oh yeah.
Only the best is good enough for us.
We are rock and roll. So part 3 of this, it was intended to be just a 2-parter, but something sort of cropped up in my head that I wanted to discuss. And I wanted to sort of break my own rules for the show. So originally, the intention is to do anything that's just 20th century, to keep it to that thing. But I asked Mike the question, and this was an open question, of what would be your top 5 Halloween films to get you in the mood for Halloween? To be clear, to get you in the mood for what brings up that Halloween spirit. What films would you sit down and watch?
Yeah, my ideal Halloween day or evening or Is that what you? That's what we
basically
kind of envisioned.
That's where we're going with. It's just 5 films that you see as your Halloween 5, and a sort of like you'd want to watch on a Halloween, that sort of thing.
But we was not allowed to pick Halloween.
No, but and Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween was taken away from the choices, simply because it's too easy.
I could have had Rob Zombies.
All right, any of the Halloween films were taken out. That was
okay.
They're just too easy.
I just remembered actually. I really did want to change one of them, but I completely forgot.
We still could. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I've got number 6. Is that all right?
Well, we can discuss it. We can discuss, honourable mentions maybe. Let's go through our 5s.
Okay.
I'm happy to start with yours. Actually, let's start with yours then. So let's start with in no particular order.
Okay. I would say start off with. Okay, on the back of Alien 2, The Descent.
Which
Neil
Marshall's Descent. What a link! Linking it back to the last show.
Okay.
The production company and distributors of Alien 2 tried to sue Neil Marshall for The Descent.
Yeah, that's right, they did.
Based on saying it was too close. However, having already beaten a court case against 20th Century Fox for calling it Alien.
No, I think the judge, when he started watching the film, went, "Nah, you're all right."
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm ruling in favour of Neil Marshall. I don't watch this shit.
No one's ever going to see this. I wouldn't worry about it. The Descent, good film. I actually, I do like this film. It's an incredibly claustrophobic film.
That's great. I mean, it's great. It's shot well. It's very dark. It's very gloomy. I know one of the people in there, actually. It's actually in the film. And a guy called Urjwan. And he's telling me lots of things at the inside of things about the way it was shot and everything like that. But again, when we talk about classic British horrors, we always think about Hammer House horrors. But people forget The Descent, American funding.
Yeah.
But a totally British-made film.
Yeah, well, Neil Marshall was a real hot property for a short time, and I don't know.
Doomsday, he made Doomsday.
Doomsday is very good.
Very great. A forgotten film as well. People don't remember Doomsday.
Yeah, I don't understand why, because it's a very good film.
You can go down to CEX and buy it on Blu-ray for £1.
Yeah,
and you think
really? I've got it on Blu-ray. It's a great film.
Fantastic film.
And Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers. Yeah, I was an extra in Dog Soldiers.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it's an excellent film. I love Dog Soldiers.
I get killed twice in Dog Soldiers. It's another story altogether.
But I mean, it's one of those that's The Descent is an incredibly well made film.
It's very dark. It's very scary as well, extremely scary.
Oh yes.
Because you actually, and this is going to sound quite strange, you actually believe it could happen.
Oh, well, it's despite the, and spoilers by the way for all of these films, yeah, despite the ending being like, you know, the monster, it feels legit.
Well, you know, I mean, I go into mines, and there is that, you know, the sense of abandonment when it comes to mines and caves and stuff. You do think that there's something else there. And I'm not talking about supernatural. You just feel that you're being watched, or there's creatures, or there's something. And you know, this concept of the fact that there are creatures that do not go out to the light, but they stay under the ground, and they live under the ground. Yeah, of course, it's totally feasible.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
what makes this film great, is that it's a completely feasible plot.
Well, I think the other thing about this is that concept of going into the other realm. You know, people being people as humans. You know, we you know, we're a social animal. We live in daylight. That's our optimal place. So to go in somewhere where you know you are vulnerable because it's dark and cramped, and you know you can't be fully capable, is terrifying. You are at the mercy of whatever the hell is in there.
But the film immerses you in that experience, though,
Yes.
as well. I mean, and a good, strong female lead as well.
Cast, actually, good film, a strong cast.
Oh, yeah,
I
I
think.
mean, the female that's I say a good, strong lead. She's a good, strong lead in a storyline capacity, but not necessarily as a character capacity. I mean, as a character, she's very weak in the general scheme of things, and that vulnerability of her as a character is what really makes her a strong character, which is kind of strange, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just I think it's the epitome of a great lights out. You've got to watch this film.
In the lights out, I want. There's a.
I've got. I watched this film recently because I mentioned it on my list, and I watched it recently, laying in bed, headphones on, nothing else except for that.
I can imagine that. Well,
because I was obviously, you know, you got the restrictions to the bedclothes.
Yeah.
And they had the darkness of the room.
Well, I've got to say, because there are several shots in this that are only lit by the torches they had to hand.
Yeah.
And okay, that's what this film stands out for me, is because the first time I watched this, I think I watched it on DVD at home on the screen with the lights out, like you say.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where she's in a very small tunnel, and only like one part of the screen is lit, and the screen just sort of like the black TV just blends with the blackness of the room, and then like you are just trapped in there with her.
Yeah,
you are totally immersed. Like some, also being a horror film. I mean, this is a tragic film as well.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, the whole she has to do. If I remember, I haven't seen it for a while, so I haven't seen it. But as far as I remember, she has to kill one of her friends, but smash her head in with a rock.
Yeah.
Now there's the original ending.
It's a survival film.
It's a survival film, but there's the original ending.
Yeah.
And then there's the American ending.
Yes.
So the American ending is not a tragedy because she gets away.
Yes, you get.
It ends with her bursting out.
That's where
gasp.
film 2 comes into play.
Well, that's why. Yeah, but film 2 doesn't make any sense.
No, it's
with the British ending.
It does. It does with the American ending.
It does with the American ending, because the British ending
is brilliant.
Is amazing.
Brilliant.
Is her breaking out, getting away, and you think she's done it, and then she blinks, and it's all been in her head.
Yeah.
And she's back in the cave.
And she turns on the light.
And
everything's around. I love that ending. I think that ending's great.
That's the ending Neil Marshall wanted.
That's a full stop ending.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ending Neil Marshall wanted, and it's so the right choice.
Full stop, no new paragraph.
Yeah. And the Americans got that wrong on that one. So The Descent, I love that. Good film. Good choice. I like that. Okay, next.
I would say go on from Descent to a good linkage here into Creep. Again,
so this is
underground film.
So this is the subway.
Yeah. No, it's the
underground. Okay, the London Underground. Okay, the London
Yeah.
Underground film. Because when I searched Creep, there's been a few.
There's several of them. Yeah.
But this is the London Underground Creep.
This is the one that's not out on Blu-ray yet.
Yeah, this is really hard to find.
Yeah.
It is on. You can get it on Amazon or on eBay, but they're expensive because was a limited print by the look of it. Like,
Well, it was a Marmite film.
I saw it years ago. I saw it on DVD. I think I borrowed your copy actually, but
I think you did actually. Yeah, it's a great film. It's a. I'm seeing a pattern here of claustrophobic films.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. It's a great film. It's a film you can only watch once. You can't watch this film twice, because the thing about this film is the shock value of what happens next.
Yeah.
As you go along, it's one of these pursuit films, whereas
as it builds up.
Yeah, as it builds and it builds. Like Descent, you can watch several times.
Yes.
But this film you can only watch once, and you walk away from it. And it's a great film. Well, look at your sheet there. It's got a 5.6, and I'm shocked.
Yeah, 5.6, and only 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's not a well.
Well, I don't get the Rotten Tomato scores. There's 43%. What's that?
Oh.
Does that mean it's 43% rubbish or 43%?
So basically, that would be a 4.3.
Oh, okay.
Out of 10. It's out of 10. So it's a percentage score. I've seen it. It's been quite a few years. I can't remember a great deal about it. Maybe it's worth revisiting. I remember liking it though, and again, I remember liking it because it was that thing of like, what the hell is underneath us that we don't get to see?
Yeah, I mean I've explored a few bits of the underground, and I've explored a few stations that are closed, and it screams, make a film out of me, And the interesting thing about Descent and Creep is the advertising campaign.
Yeah.
It's because the advertising campaign for Creep was the hand
on the window.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
And the advertising campaign for Descent was very much like Alien Terror with the face.
Yeah.
The dirty face. The
just
look,
partly lit.
and a bit of a light.
Yeah.
So two really good advertising campaigns where you go, shit, that looks scary.
Yeah.
Creep.
And I can't remember about the same point. What year was that? So that's 2004. So it is about the same period. There was a sort of this thing at that period of a couple of films. I don't know if you've seen Midnight Meat Train.
Oh yeah, with
Vinnie Jones and Bradley Cooper, based on the Clive Barker.
I forgot Bradley Cooper was in it. Yeah.
I really like that film.
It's one of the Books of Blood, isn't it?
It is. It's one of the Books of Blood. And that's I would love, and we're going to that point. We will do a best of Clive Barker on film because
wow,
I'm a big fan of Clive Barker. I'm a big fan of Clive Barker. Yeah, I mean we'll get to that.
You get to that in a second.
But I find that Midnight Meat Train's got a similar feel to it. You go to it once, and like you say, you get the ending and you get the reveal, and it's that build-up of terror and obsession and stuff. But like I don't know, it's not really worth going back to. And it is because it's a good film. But yeah, I feel the same.
It's one of these roles that actually. I mean, we always associate Vinnie Jones with Lock, Stock, but in actual fact, Midnight Meat Train actually gave him much more widespread coverage than Lock, Stock did.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre when you think about it. I mean, he propelled himself to the next level with Lock, Stock, but this gave him, universal American coverage. Meat Train was big in America.
Yeah, it's one of those films that it was a perfect role for him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't talk. And it's all about.
That's just true.
No.
Vinny, if you're listening, well, I have his address, his telephone number.
Well, let me explain. It's all about body language.
Yeah.
And
Vinny is intimidating.
Vinny is he knows how to use his body to be intimidating.
I think it's great.
And he is such a good in the book. The character, and I can't remember the name of the character, but the character that Vinny is playing is this overweight guy. He's a real slob.
And here he's like Slender Man.
He's a bit more slender. He wears a suit and he's slick, and it works so much better, I think, really. So, yeah, okay. Good film, actually. Creep, good choice. Okay, next choice?
Going from London Underground to London Underground. Filmed in Tottenham Court Road, American Way from London.
Yeah.
So, you see my linkage?
I did, again.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I was in London recently, and Creep doesn't spring to mind, thank God. But going down the escalators, I always think of that scene
of when the camera's at the top,
and the guy's on the thing, and you just see
you can see the creature for the first time.
Yeah,
just there.
Yeah,
and Rick Mayall's in it, of course. Rick Mayall was in the American Way from London.
He is. Yeah. And Brian Glover and
Brian Glover, yes. Another story for a wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Brian Glover.
Yeah, what's it called? The Slaughtered Lamb.
Slaughtered lamb.
This
Why would you go in a pub called Slaughtered Lamb? I'm sure it's lovely, but no.
yeah.
And why would you be travelling at night?
I have to admit, at the start of this film,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple of questions like that when they keep walking. And I was a bit like, you've got massive rucksacks on your back. Surely you got a tent in there. But besides the point, this film has a real. I've got a real history with this film. Now it's not on my list, but I love this film for several reasons. I think it's a fantastic film. I think it terrified me. This film gave me proper. It's
and the SS when the SS.
That's what I say.
Especially,
that bit, the nurse Jenny Agutter opens the curtain and it's behind the curtain and jumps out. Jesus, when he's having his dream and his face is all sort of like vamped up and he opens his eyes and stuff. Yeah, my bottom squeezing seriously makes me jump. That film does.
You know, it's Beauty and the Beast.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's Beauty Killed the Beast.
That's the other thing I like about this film. Yeah. Jenny Agutter is very hot in this film.
Yeah,
I've got a real
Totally. I mean, she's. I mean, you know, it's a story of an American that gets, you know, his best friend gets killed. He becomes a werewolf. He meets up with a slut.
She is.
She's only just met him, and then she has sex in the shower.
Yeah.
With him, and
slutty nurse.
Slutty nurse. Great. What else? That's great. And we just paused the film there.
Yeah.
That's great for me.
I also think
the amazing sequence, the transformation sequence.
Yes.
That I challenge anyone to get a sequence that is as good as that, even now.
To the day. Well, it's all practical, which I love about it.
Yeah,
it's all practical. The other thing I like, the special effects in this, the makeup effects in this.
Yeah.
Is it Rick Baker?
I think it is. Yeah.
Is fantastic.
It was outside the box thinking.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, some of the thoughts that go into it. So his friend, the names have escaped me, but his best friend who gets killed in the start. The fact he keeps coming back, but each time he comes back,
more decomposition.
But he's got that little flap of skin
on
his neck that keeps going. But then each time he comes back, he's slightly more decomposed. Until towards the end of the film, they go to the porn theatre, and he is just a corpse.
Yeah.
In the dark, and then all the other victims are there and stuff like that, is genius. But I didn't know, or I didn't get, when I first watched this film for the first couple of times, I didn't get that this had a humour in it. I didn't get that this was a comedy. And it wasn't until probably in the last 10 years when I've gone back and watched it and gone, this is actually really quite funny.
Oh, yeah.
There's some real humour in this. I mean, the two friends at the beginning and everything else, they've got good chemistry, and they are like good friends.
Oh yeah, totally.
There's some real good humour in this.
And also as well, the location where the end scene is literally right next door to the London Bridge Experience.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So you've seen it, and
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I've seen when it was shot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you know, and there's lots of things like Bridget Jones's Baby and Harry Potter was filmed around
all
there
around
as well.
there.
Yeah, but it's just like bizarre because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's all set, you know, when he's backed into that alley. But I've actually seen it now, so I'm like, yeah, man.
Go into that scene then. Backed into that alley. He's the wolf.
Yep.
The whole mayhem that's gone on, you know, because he becomes a proper wolf. I mean, that's the good thing about this as well.
Yeah,
this isn't you know, your Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman. This is a wolf.
This is a proper werewolf.
When it's there and it's backed into the alley, and Jenny Agutter steps forward. He knows. So, and this is it's supposed to be ambiguous. So I want to know what you think about this.
Yeah.
In the porn theatre, his victims and his best friend say the only way for this to end is for you to take your life.
Yeah.
Right. When he goes for it, because you see the snarl, and I love that shot. You get the face of the wolf, and it just snarls and it goes for it, and the police open fire.
You see the tear. Do you see the tear in?
There's something there.
Yeah.
Is it that he, you know, is it the wolf is going to kill her, or is it, like you say, Beauty and the Beast, that he is sacrificing himself to save her because he knows?
I think it's that.
That's how I've always taken it.
I think it's he knows that if he lunges forward, that he's going to get shot.
It's suicide by police.
Yeah. But they won't have silver bullets.
I don't think this follows the mythology, though, does it? I mean, it's got its own sort of mythology.
It's got all mythology up to that point. Scratched by a werewolf, you become a werewolf. You know, you'll change on the first moon, you know, and all this is there except for the silver bullet thing.
Yeah.
And no one seems to address that. So it's like,
well, it would be a bit difficult to try and weave that in a little bit because it's supposed to have the element. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
A small
and it would have been a real tits up if he did jump forward, they shot him, and he carried on tearing Jenny Agutter to pieces. You'd be like, oh, cack.
That's shit.
But
she's aged well as well.
She has, very, very well. Of course, this had a sequel.
American Werewolf in Paris.
Yeah, which I owned for...
Jenny Agutter...
No, none of the cast return.
No, but wasn't it based on the baby that she allegedly had or something?
It's not at all. It's a completely separate group of people.
I forgot how that film begins.
It's basically, again, it's American tourists in Paris. Yeah, and I won't watch it. It's an American tourist. And basically, a group of American tourists get in with a bunch of... like a gang of werewolves that know they're werewolves.
Oh, and they have this club.
And they have a club.
Yeah,
club,
that's right.
Daloon.
Daloon, yes.
Club Daloon. And I would say there are several good shots in it. Now, the only person that's in it there's a French actress in it who was, I think, what's her face? Who was in Before Sunset and after... Before Sunrise, After Sunset, those films with Ethan Hawke. I forget the woman's name now.
Okay.
French actress. She's in it, and she's all right. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not very good. It was made in the 90s. Yeah. It's very 90s.
I went to cinema to see it, I believe, and as I say, it's one of these films I've seen watched.
Yeah.
I watched once and just gone...
It doesn't deserve returning to. It doesn't. American Werewolf in London, amazing film.
Yeah, totally.
Love that film.
Totally
okay,
agree.
Next choice.
I would say Staying in London with Shaun of the Dead.
So not just staying in London, but staying in the pub.
Absolutely, staying in the pub.
Going down to Winchester.
Yeah. Which he used different ideas from different films, and he did pluck things from London as well. You know, this isn't just a zombie movie. This is a comedy. This is an action movie. You know, this is.
Is this the first of the Cornetto trilogy?
Yes, it is.
It is the
first. Shaun of the Dead.
Then Hot Fuzz. Then
the
World's
Rubbish
End.
One.
Do you not like it, World's End?
No, I think my order of greatness is Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, then
World's End.
World's End didn't know what he wanted to be. It's been half the movie being one thing and then another half being another thing, and I didn't really have a good payoff in the end.
I think all three. I think they're all good. I agree. I think that's for me. It'd be Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz in the order actually. I do think that World's End has some fantastic moments in though.
Oh, yeah, some great moments, yeah.
Yeah. But going back to Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
I
like the one-track shot.
Yes.
In Shaun of the Dead. And any film that does a one-track shot for me has already won me over, because from a filmmaker's perspective, that's a very difficult shot to one frame, two, to make sure all your actors are in place and doing exactly what they're supposed to do, and three, to get that steadier shot on it's a one-track shot, but it's not on a track. It's tracking because it's going from one direction to another, but it's just flawless. Every step of the way, it's flawless. And then you know you're going to be in for a good movie when they can pull off something like that. And they repeat the shot in exactly the same positions and exactly the same shots. No shot is aligned in a different way. Every frame of every shot is the same.
Yeah.
For the second sequence, when he goes through and everyone is, is dead.
Yes.
And it's just brilliant. And just the way the whole film is shot, the chemistry between all, they're very well cast. It's just an amazing film. And
it's a very...
I refuse to believe there's anyone out there that didn't enjoy Shaun of the Dead. There can't be.
No, it's a universally loved film.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a weird film in that it. Well, I remember seeing it and being sold it as a comedy, and I went in thinking, "Oh, this is a horror comedy," thinking comedy big C. Oh, that was it was going to be that. This film is a comedy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not, but the horror is played straight.
Oh, totally, yeah.
You know,
The horror is very,
and
very
it's
good.
played very well. The special effects are really good, but the horror is played straight. But it's got pathos as well. This film has, like, really, well done. I mean, spoilers for a film that everyone should have watched by now, but the fact that the Sean, the Sean Pegg character loses his stepdad and his mother in this film. Both scenes, like Bill Nighy playing it, sort of like trying to sort of give him some.
His own mother as well.
He has to shoot his own mum, and then, but Bill Nighy trying to give him some fatherly advice before he turns and stuff, and saying to him like, "I never wanted." There's parts of this film that are really heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so well played.
Oh, totally.
So well played.
And the characters aren't nonchalant characters. They are characters with backstories and issues and everything else, And like the Dylan Moran, his character, and it's great, the entwining of these characters and the way they interact with each other and the way they develop as the film progresses. Sean being this pushover turns into this great leader, and then the little twist at the end with his best mate being Ed. Yeah. Becoming what he becomes at the end, and sort of like no.
Yeah, yeah. I think this film is a cultural standout. I think you're right. I think this is it stood the test of time. It's 2004, so it's over 12 years old now. It's still talked about.
Oh, and still watched.
I think people still talk about this film.
It's probably most horror fans will have this in their collection.
Yes. Oh yeah, undoubtedly.
But I mean, it taps into so many different films.
Yeah.
You can see George A. Romero. You can see John Landis. You can see Tobe Hooper. You can see Wes Craven. You can see all these different elements. You can see Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And some of the shots as well. If you're a geeky shot person like me, I like the shots. But some of the shots you can see, sort of like there's a shot which was made famous by Jaws. When Schneider's on the beach.
The zoom.
The zoom,
the zoom out.
Yeah, the zoom out. But then he stays in focus, and he comes closer, but the camera zooms out. And
Yeah.
And that was done on a dolly, and he was on a chair, and he was moved forward to the camera as the camera was zooming out.
Yeah.
It's just brilliantly done, and they do that in Shaun of the Dead, and it's like, it's just, I love the homage it makes, but it doesn't plagiarize. It makes it all very unique and lovely.
I agree. I think this is an homage, but like I say, a thing in itself. I mean, this has got some. When it's played serious, and there are some scenes that are played serious, it works, and you take them seriously.
And there's bits of it.
But the humour,
where
one of my favourite scenes is they have the box of records,
and
they're flicking through.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're just throwing up the two zombies. And then they pull one out of camera, it is now. He's like, don't throw that.
Yeah.
So even at this moment, they're like, no, that's good, that's probably... There's some real banter and stuff. I mean, it's an excellent film. Excellent film. Links into... And I'm going to... Well, you mentioned your last choice.
See, this is a problem now, is because I've thought of a film that I would definitely watch at Halloween.
Well, let me do... All right, we'll use that then. Save that. Okay. Let's talk about this. You did mention Dawn of the Dead, 1978, which is a good film.
Yeah.
Funny enough, though, Shaun of the Dead came out the same year as the Zack Snyder remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Ving Rhames and I forgot how to say it now, but it was, I think it was one of Zack Snyder's first films. It's actually really good.
When zombies can run.
And
crawl.
Yeah.
It's like, shit. Zombies just got scarier.
I was going to say, so where are you on the zombie front then? Are you a shambling zombie only, or, because I mean, like, let's not count 28 Days, because 28 Days, I don't think they're zombies. They are they're infected people.
Good film though.
Oh, it is in don't they? But they're in Dawn of the Dead, 2004. They are proper zombies, yet they are basically sprinting. Where are you? Where do you stand?
I'm a 78. I'm a 1978.
But you're zombie. But in modern zombie films, you prefer the sort of the droning, shambling, slow-moving zombie, the Shaun of the Dead zombie, let's say.
Walking Dead zombie.
Okay, Walking Dead zombie. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Walking Dead is middle of the road.
Yeah.
Walking Dead is neither George A. Romero or Dawn of the Dead remake.
I like I like Dawn of the Dead 78. I really quite like the remake 2004.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then they remade Day of the Dead as well.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the others, but I have problems with the running zombie. It works in the context of the film, but it's one of those that you need to explain it for me, because Dead shouldn't be able to. Well, they should be able to walk for a start.
Yeah.
So running seems like a real issue.
Walking fast, different story.
Olympic running. As Billy Connolly would call it, a broken ass walk.
Broken ass walk. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, let's drop this. So, what is the one you wanted to put in here? What is the one that you want to raise?
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, Rob Zombie. Good choice.
I would say, yeah. For one reason is for a different podcast, my entrance music.
Yeah.
Is House of a Thousand Corpses, and also, wow.
Yeah.
Everything about that film is what I love about horror. It's dark, it's twisted, it's sinister, it's downplayed, it's overplayed.
Yeah.
From an acting perspective. They downplay a lot of things, they overplay a lot of things. It's got elements of the sinister, barbaric nature of Texas Chainsaw, the original Texas Chainsaw. It's just gritty.
It's a complete ode to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills Have Eyes, those sorts of films, those 70s grindhouse.
It's an old school.
It's a grindhouse
film.
Feel.
Yeah,
it feels grindhouse.
Totally.
It feels dirty, but it's a good film. That is a very, very good film.
It works so well, and I mean, I can't believe I missed it off my list. What a stupid man I was, but I mean,
I know quite a few people actually, whilst liking it, prefer Devil's Rejects.
More happens in Devil's Rejects more quickly. I think that's what it is.
It escalates quickly, yeah.
And it's in various locations, whereas this is all in one location.
The house.
Yeah, the house. Yeah. And and that's what I like. It's like Die Hard.
Yeah.
Die Hard. I mean, no taking away. I like Die Hard films. I mean, you take like Die Hard 4.0 and things like that. That's done all over the city. Or Die Hard with Vengeance.
Yeah.
Great films in their own right, but what makes Die Hard special is the fact it takes place all in one location.
Yes.
And that when you set a film all in one location and you still make it entertaining, that means that it's a bloody good film.
I really sort of I 100% agree with you there. I like epics, and I love when you get like sweeping quest stories. I mean, Lord of the Rings, for example, great. You got thousands of locations all over the place. But for a film, when you do a horror film in particular, locking people into a location, possibly physically locking them in, or just rooting it all in a single location, going back to that feeling of claustrophobia, that trapped feeling of like you can't escape this, is key to it all. Which is why I think one of the conversations you and I have had recently is, why doesn't modern horror work so well? And why has no one really been able to tap into the sort of the digital world and produce some good horror out of it? It's because there's too much to escape. It's too easy to escape. Because if you really struggled, the car's broken. It's all right. I'll ring Uber.
Yeah.
Where are we? It's all right. I'll check Google Maps.
Yeah.
So you're never lost. You're never without a phone. It's all too easy.
The only thing that's come close in recent years I can think of, immediately springs to mind, is when you take all that technology away from someone, is Saw, the Saw franchise.
Yeah, and I have my own problems with the Saw franchise, but I agree. You have to bring people down.
You have to set it in modern times, but take everything away from them that they would have in modern times, and then you can get away with with all of that.
But that's why I think a lot of horror films. I'm seeing a lot of directors. They are now trying to do like retro horror. They'll go back and set it in the 80s or the 70s and stuff. Because I think you take away that technology and you sort of, again, you limit us, I think, and that's the point. But yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses is a good film.
I think it's a good choice, and I think that I know what people say about Devil's Rejects, but House of a Thousand Corpses tells a story. Devil's Rejects are on the run. So it's the second part.
Yeah.
So, and they are two separate entities as films.
Yeah, okay. What about Rob Zombie as a director, like his other films? What's your thoughts on...
I liked Halloween. I liked his remake of Halloween.
I haven't seen them, either of them.
The first one's great. Second one is just Rob Zombie on crack cocaine or something.
Okay.
It's just
They gave him free
insane.
reign kind of thing.
Oh, it's just insane. But the remake, the remake of Halloween, the first one of Rob Zombie, is great. Really good film. Recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Worth looking at. And then he went off the boil somewhat and did some really strange and obscure. And he did an animated one.
I haven't seen it either. Yeah.
And he did
The Witches one.
Yeah, the Witches one with the Salem.
Salem. Yeah.
And then he recently did 13. And 13 is
Is it 31?
31.
31.
That's it, 31. And he that's him coming back to what he's good at. That's him coming back to this kind of grindhouse.
Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews on it.
It's a great film in the sense of like it's true Rob Zombie fashion.
Yeah. Okay.
However, I think the problem with Rob Zombie at the moment is he doesn't know how to end a film.
I'd agree with that.
And,
yeah.
And 31 is a good example of
not knowing where
not
to end
knowing
it.
how to do it. You know, it's basically 31 can be summarized as. You ever seen The Cube?
Yes.
So right, okay, it's
spoilers, by the way, for anyone listening.
No. Let's not do The Cube. Imagine Running Man.
Okay, yeah.
Mixed with Saw.
Right.
That's 31.
Okay.
Yeah. If you escape.
So was it torture porn kind of film then? Is it?
Yeah, Hostel-esque type thing. It's
never really my thing. Those films. But
it's interesting if you can survive and escape. It's basically a horror version of Running Man. Basically, that's the only way I can describe it. But in a Texas kind of like outback kind of way.
I will definitely give it a go when it comes out on Blu-ray.
It's worth watching.
Yeah,
it's worth watching. They don't know how to end it.
Yeah,
and whether he's left it open for 31 years
32.
It can't be because 31 is Halloween. That's the whole thing. Is that
oh, okay, so that's the point.
It happens on Halloween every year, so he couldn't go to Halloween, so he called it 31. It's an interesting film. I mean, Rob Zombie. I don't know his music.
I quite like it. I've got a couple of his albums.
Oh yeah, I've never listened to anything of his.
Except
for music, obviously. But I mean, I don't know. I like his style. I like the fact that he's a bit sort of like macabre and a little bit sort of like dark and gritty, and he appreciates old school.
Yeah. Oh no, he does. He's definitely got that feel, which I really enjoy. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills of Eyes, those sorts of films.
You can see his influences.
And definitely.
So I like him as a director. I don't necessarily like all his films, but I like him as a director.
Yeah. Okay, so to give a quick rundown. So we had The Descent, Creep,
Yep.
American Werewolf in London,
Yep.
Shaun of the Dead,
Yep.
Quickly covered Dawn of the Dead, and then House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, it was an extra one I had on, sorry.
So that's fine. So that's your Halloween. That's a Halloween.
That's ideal Halloween.
Okay. So you've already seen my list, and you feel there's some controversy in there.
Beetlejuice.
So Beetlejuice.
Wow.
I've got a confession.
Okay.
I'm a Burton bitch. I know I can't defend him.
You wait until Kurt Russell finds out about this boy.
I can't defend all of his films.
Yeah.
I do think the Mark Wahlberg Planet of the Apes film is naff. It's a studio fluff piece.
Is that the one with Tim Rice in? Not Tim Rice.
Tim Roth plays.
Tim Rice.
It's got all kinds of things in it. I mean, Paul Giovanni is in it.
Yeah, it's awful. It is awful.
What's his face? Yeah, you know what I mean. It's not good. It's not worth.
But people
visiting.
go to see a Burton film because it's a Burton film.
Now that's the thing. Also, now you go to a Burton film, much for the same reason you would go to see a Rob Zombie film, which is because it's a Rob Zombie film.
Yeah.
You go to see a Burton film, you expect certain things. I think he's gone off the boil.
Okay.
I haven't seen the latest one yet. This Mrs. Peregrine's Home for X-Men.
Yeah. Basically what it is.
Yeah. I will probably see it at some point. When Tim Burton is allowed to be Tim Burton, I really enjoy him.
Okay.
I think he when let loose, I think he can be fantastic.
Batman Returns.
But I mean, they're not. It's one of those things. If people watch Batman '89 and Batman Returns and go, "Well, it's not true Batman because he kills people," I'm like, yeah, but it's not really about that. It's a what if story of Batman.
It's dark and Batman
twisted.
is dark.
They are twisted versions of Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan, and as we've discussed before, I really enjoy '89 Batman. I love everything. Big Fish. I liked Sweeney Todd, Sleepy Hollow. You know,
Sweeney Todd I've not seen.
It's worth seeing. It's an interesting thing.
I've got it, never watched it.
Be warned, they don't stop singing.
Yeah, no, that's...
but it's worth seeing. It's a good film.
But I do have a bit of a thing on
Helena Bonham Carter. Well, so did he for a short time.
Yeah.
Even even his sort of Alice in Wonderland films have been interesting. There's a style.
Like them.
I know people don't, and I can understand why. I understand why.
I think this is where he goes off the boil. I think Tim Burton disappeared up his own arse, and he thought he was as big as his hype.
I would agree with that.
And I think that when you see the transition between, Beetlejuice is a great film. Don't get me wrong, I love Beetlejuice. Okay, I question whether it should be a Halloween film. That's my
we'll get to that discussion.
Yeah. But you look at Sleepy Hollow, great.
Yeah.
You look at Big Fish, fabulous film. And you can see the way it is. And then he goes on, and then he goes on to like Alice in Wonderland.
Well, I think what you'll see is
what was the transition before Alice in Wonderland? What do you do before that?
Well, before Alice, you get. This is the. Basically, Tim Burton is one of these directors that, and I would put John Carpenter in this same grouping. Independent directors, then get messed up by the studio system because you bring someone on to do a certain kind of film, and then the studio loses confidence because they're like, oh, it's a little bit too niche.
Yeah.
John Carpenter is great throughout the 80s. You get some fantastic films. You do everything from Halloween, through to like The Thing, Escape from New York, Escape from Precinct 13.
Yeah, that's great. That was
all
a great film.
Yeah, all the way up to like They Live. Right, and all of a sudden everyone starts paying attention to him. Big Trouble in Little China is an amazing film, daft as nuts, but I really enjoy it. So throughout the 80s, good. And then he makes Memoirs of an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase.
Do you not like that?
I think it's a bag of cack.
Wow.
I don't like it.
I enjoyed it.
And then all of a sudden John Carpenter just goes like just off the boil. I
didn't know that was John Carpenter film. In all fairness, but I
you get flashes of him with In the Mouth of Madness, with Sam Neill, which is actually quite a good film.
Yeah.
But then he goes back to being a studio film, and you get things like Ghosts of Mars and Escape from LA.
It was Wes Craven, People Under the Stairs. Escape from LA. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
You get studio interference, and you get the garbage.
Escape from New York again.
Yeah. But this is it. So I think Wes Craven is another good example. You get studio interference and you get garbage. And I think Tim Burton is the same way. When you hire Tim Burton, you get a Tim Burton film. And when Tim Burton's allowed to be Tim Burton, I think you get gold. So that's what I think. I know people moan about Batman, but I really enjoy Batman.
No, I love it. I thought it was great.
I don't know if you've seen Big Fish. Big Fish is a really good film.
Great film.
Okay, it's the imagination in all these films that I think is really, really good. That's why I love Beetlejuice, because it is unfettered Tim Burton.
I agree. I think it's a great film.
Why don't you think it's a Halloween film? It's about a ghost.
Well, yeah, but
the most.
But Ghost, Patrick Swayze Ghost is about a ghost. Doesn't mean you have to watch it on Halloween.
Right, so what's the difference between why doesn't Beetlejuice fit in with Shaun of the Dead? As a horror comedy, and I get it's more comedy than Shaun of the Dead because there's less horrific elements. But why is it not?
Well, I think because Shaun of the Dead follows on from it's a horror film with comedy, whereas your film is a comedy film
with okay. For me, so I think this comes into our interpretation of what we want from Halloween.
Yeah.
So for me, I really like the fun element of Halloween. I mean, I will give you the feel of this of.
I'm looking at the rest of your list, yeah, and I can understand exactly why you've picked every one of them for Halloween because that really gets you into the mood and spirit.
And that's my fun element. So let me if you imagine this,
so you're de-escalating yourself somewhat, aren't you?
This is the bring down. This is the bring down. Right? This is what I watch before I go to bed, so I don't have nightmares. This is like when you go to do a Halloween party and everyone's in costume and having fun and you do trick or treating.
It's what's on in the background.
This is what's on in the background, or this is like this was me before I said like Poltergeist introduced me to real horror, right? I can remember. What is this? This is 88. I can remember during the early 90s. It would have been really when I was getting into this. Films on Saturday nights on BBC or ITV, right? So we would go around to family, friends, or even at home, and films like this were on. And Beetlejuice was on a lot in the early 90s on regular. It must have been on BBC probably. And it just sat in my mind, and it's so fun. And,
It was a great film.
And the idea of the afterlife with it all, and is so messed up and so twisted, but I love it so much. And I think Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice is... I didn't know for years. I mean, this is before I started, way before I started taking notice of films and who was in what and who directed and all that kind of thing. I didn't know that Beetlejuice was Batman. And there you go back and go, Jesus, it just shows how good he is. And to me, this is the bobbing for apples. This is the, this is doing the silly games at Halloween and that sort of thing. This is the fun element of Halloween. All right, that's what I always say. I mean, there are modern films now. I don't think you get that thing that brings kids into horror. There's no. Do you know what I mean? People go horror, and you get like proper.
Conjuring and stuff
yeah,
like that,
yeah, exactly. There's none of the fun's gone from it in a little way. But then when you watch there's you've heard of Leica. There's a studio called Leica that just made Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah.
But they made a film a few years ago called Paranorman.
Oh yes, Paranorman. Yes.
Paranorman.
Yeah.
Love Paranorman. It's a fantastic film.
Again, got it. Not seen it yet.
So worth watching.
Is it?
But it has that same element of like it's kids involved in horror. It's a silly animated.
About the dead
film.
dog, is that right?
No, that's Frankenweenie. I've got that as well.
Yeah.
That's a Tim Burton one, and that's really good fun.
Yeah.
But it's that element of like horror doesn't have to be like all horrible, because we like to be frightened, and it might be. Let's think about sort of like the Universal monsters and that sort of thing, and you get the sort of Abbott and Costello in the Halloween, in the the monsters and all that kind of stuff. Horror and comedy go hand in hand.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and you're an entertainer, you're an actor, you know all these things.
Yeah.
And I know you can go from one extreme to the other, and I think that Beetlejuice is leaning. It's that horror comedy with this comedy over the big C. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because there are jumps in this, but they're not to make you go, oh my god. They're to go, oh, and it's that sort of like thing. I love Beetlejuice. It's the funny horror element, and I love the design of everything in it.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's very well shot. Winona Ryder is brilliant casting. Gina Davis is as well.
I think the cast throughout of this are excellent.
Oh yeah.
Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice is awesome and never to be repeated.
Do you think Beetlejuice 2 will have a ham?
No, never. I don't think it will. This will be a reboot. They will reboot this. I think we will see a rebooted Beetlejuice within the next 10 years.
The same as Ghostbusters, do you reckon?
Yeah, that sort of thing. What I would say is, though...
who would play Beetlejuice?
I don't know. I wouldn't know at this point. I don't know. The actors... You need a manic kind of... I wouldn't know. I'd have to really think about that.
Yeah, Jim Carrey was offered Beetlejuice 2 at one
Yeah,
stage.
I could imagine that. I can imagine him being the go-to one, maybe early 2000s.
Yeah.
But Beetlejuice is made. The other thing I would say about Beetlejuice, which carries through the Tim Burton thing, is of course the Danny Elfman music.
Yes, yeah.
So Danny Elfman, I've got a load of his music, and I think it's fantastic. So I'd love the music to it as well.
He's as important to films as John Williams is to the Star Wars franchise.
Yes.
The Indiana Jones franchise.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He adds that sort of like there's a twisted carnival feel to it all, and it's
great.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so we've talked about this being childish, and it's that entry point. So I'm going to try some little mini segues like yourself. So the second choice is, let's talk about slasher films.
Right.
So in the last episode we discussed the excellent Friday the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3.
Yeah.
Another one I love, for me a horror icon, is Chucky. Child's Play.
What's your segue between Beetlejuice and Chucky?
It's Child's Play.
Fair enough. Okay.
Child's Play 1 is the Child's Play series. Like
they're all good in their own right.
They've all got something good. I'd probably say Seed of Chucky is my least favourite.
Yeah.
But again, this is one of those like Freddy, where they realised pretty quick. I call it the Homer effect, where all of a sudden you realise that a background character is actually the real focal point, and they sort of shift to centre.
Yeah.
And it's the same with this. Like in the first film, it was about a small boy, Andy Barclay, being chased by a possessed doll, voiced by the amazing Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Awesome. The guy's his voiceover in this is fantastic.
And he's done it the voice for all the films.
He has throughout.
Every single one.
He is the voice of Chucky to me, and I love it. Like in the first film, it focuses more on the family. You don't get to see a great deal of Chucky until certain points.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout the films, then like Chucky becomes the prankster. You know, he makes one-liners, and then you get like Bride of Chucky, where it moves very much into comedy, and then you go on until you get Curse of Chucky, which moves a little bit more back to the horror side of it.
That was the last one, wasn't it? Curse
Yeah.
of Chucky, yeah.
But they know that he's a character that you can make fun of, because let's be honest, he's a 2-foot tall doll.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, really,
he is the Freddy Krueger of the doll world.
Yeah,
That's
but
what he is.
this comes. You know, we said before about why don't you just go? How would you get away from it? Well, first I'd kick him and then I'd run. It's like he's got very little legs. He can't keep
be that
up.
strong.
No, so it's a bit silly.
Yeah.
But
it's a bit terrifying as well.
But yeah. In the first film, one scene that that really bothered me was when his mum's friend is babysitting for him, and you just see the little sort of like the feet run past in the background, and she thinks it's Andy, and she gets up, and she goes into the bathroom. Into the kitchen. Sorry, she turns round, and a hammer smashes her in the face. Out the window she goes, and you just think like he could do that because he's little. He could just hide and then jump out and get you and stuff. And and I think it's really well done.
He's got opposable digits as well.
Yeah.
So he's,
Well, the way they did that, because it looks like a little person, is it was one of the production crew's daughter, and they dressed her as Chucky, but they couldn't let her see a mirror because she had the head and stuff on, and it would have frightened her. So she just had to run past and stuff. So they would basically have the mum on one side and the dad on the other, and she would run between them and stuff, and they'd film it.
Wow.
So it's all these little bits and pieces, really, really weird. And there's some great bits in this. When Chucky first goes mental, is a scene that I have to laugh at, because the mum picks up Chucky, opens the back, and the batteries aren't in there, and his head spins around. He's like, wanna play? And then he goes mental, and he's like, "You fuck with me," and he goes crazy at her. And I just think,
oh yeah, but doesn't see? I seem to remember it happened differently. See, I seem to remember that she's shaking it. So
she
talk
throws
to
it,
me, talk to me.
and then he does. His head spins around, or
no.
The batteries fall out the box.
Yeah, and she picks him up and she's looking like this, and then he just suddenly springs to life.
Yeah, and goes mental at her.
Yeah. You
bitch, and doesn't matter.
So profanities coming out that can never be repeated.
No, but it's an excellent film. I love it. I think it's such a good film. I think Chucky is such a good character. And
do you know I like the sequels as well?
I do.
Number
I think
number 2 and number 3. I like the fact that he gets melted down and put back together again. I like the fact that he gets his face stitched up.
Yeah,
I think it's just it's great.
There's so many good bits in it. I mean, there's a line in to show you how good. I mean, Ronnie, the guy who directed Bride of Chucky, also directed Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah.
So I feel there's a similar feel around that side. But in Bride of Chucky, he actually says like, this hasn't happened. It's a long story. If it was a film, it would take a couple of sequels. And I think it's really very well, quite meta and quite self-aware.
Yeah, it's great.
But I love Child's Play. Great film.
Good choice, actually. Really good choice, Child's Play.
I'm not even going to try and do a segue now.
Was that an easy choice? Was that a hard choice for you to make, or did you find it?
No, I think.
Or did you find it Child's Play?
I did find it Child's Play.
Yeah.
It jumped on the list quite quickly. The next 3 have all sort of got quite sort of like, I don't know, ghosty, spirity kind of elements.
But they're all very different films, though.
Yes,
very different.
We've
films.
already discussed it, so we'll discuss it quickly now.
Okay.
Is Poltergeist?
Yep. Okay.
We've already discussed it. There was a reason I picked it. It's one of the first true horror films I saw. Go back to the episode and as to when we discussed it at length. It's excellent. It always gets me in the mood.
Should be on your list.
It's a fantastic.
It's a great film, and it's certainly out of your list there. I would say that's a put you in the mood film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's not a film you'd watch last.
No. It's
a let's set the tone.
Yes, it'd probably be probably my starting point. I'll move from that. I'm going to save one. I'm going to save one for the end, but I'm going to move straight to The Exorcist.
Right.
Now I chose The Exorcist because it's not. I chose it because it's not a modern horror,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel it's very much a film of two halves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the reasons I really like it because it gets under your skin. I watched this for the first time when I was very, very young. So it was banned. It was on that Video Nasties kind of thing. It was banned for a long, long time.
Great cover, by the way, as well.
Yes.
I you notice a pattern here, and I reckon I like.
You like the artwork?
Oh, I love. I think that, you know, there's a saying that says you can't judge a book by its cover, but there's not a case when videos are concerned.
No.
When videos are concerned, you very much wanted the best cover you possibly have. To
Cover artwork and poster artwork is so important. They're so good. There's some fantastic ones out there. But this film, when it was re-released in I think the mid-90s, my mum made a bit of a thing about this. That she saw it at the cinema when it first came out and hated it. Like,
How was your mum?
she's fine. The film came out and she just terrified her. And my dad was like, no, you got to watch it. And I remember he got it on video for us and we watched it. And I thought, this is as dull as dishwater. Like, I was in my early teens, probably mid-teens, and I just did not get it. I was like, why is everyone terrified of this film? It's naff. And I went back to it when I was at university and sat down and watched it again, and I got it. Like, this is a slow burn film. Like, there's so many little things that happen and gets under your skin.
It doesn't need everything to happen at once.
No,
it needs
totally.
That build up.
Yes.
And that transition into the absolute chaos that it becomes.
Well, this is the thing. It's
control chaos.
It is control chaos. But I love the fact that this is about the characters involved. I mean, this isn't anyone. No one, even like Father Merrin, no one rides in and saves the day.
No.
They bring.
There's no victor at the end.
There's no. That's the point. There's no real victory at the end of this. Yes, they save Reagan, but at what cost?
And then she went on to become president.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
This is great.
She did some fantastic work.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that this is a build-up, and it's about, not being religious, but it's about that test of faith. It's about, do you believe, and being pushed, in the worst situation. And I can't remember, it's Father Michael. I can't remember the young guy's name, but the fact that his mum's in hospital and he's got all that going on in the background.
Help me, Sammy. Help me.
Yeah, and it's like when the first time I was like, what is this? You watch it now. It's like this guy is being tested, like really pushed.
Yeah,
and you feel for him.
There's so many reflections to Bible references. And, to sort of like the stories you have in the Bible, like Jesus when he's 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, and the devil coming up and tempting him every step of the way, and they've used that. And they've used that in The Exorcist. So this is the temptation of Christ.
It is. It's but the temptation's not just. I think the temptation's not just like the sweet things. It's the temptation to be relieved from your guilt.
Yeah.
And those other things. So I mean, when the film is sold, people talk about the girl being possessed, and they talk about the sort of like the scene where she abuses herself with the cross, or the head spinning round, or the pea soup sick. They're the things that people remember from an image point of view. They're the things that stand out because those are the special effects. But the reason I like this film is because of the characters and the fact it just gets under your skin. Like, you feel for these characters, like they are trying their best with something they just do not understand.
Sure.
And he's totally like laughing in their face of like, do what you want. Try your best, and I will sit here and take all of this. And I'll still be here. Let's see what happens. And the final bit with where Father Merrin does turn up, the fantastic Max von Sydow, who, and I must point out this is something again. This film is, what year is this? This film is 73, right?
73, okay.
Max von Sydow looks like an old man in this film.
Yeah.
Okay. Recently watched the new Star Wars, and he appears at the very start of the Star Wars. Yeah. He's still an old man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Either I didn't know this. I didn't realise they put him in old man makeup in 73 because they wanted him for the role.
Yeah.
I've just assumed that this was like a Benjamin Button situation. I didn't realise. I was like, this man's been old for like, he must have been around for hundreds of years.
I know, he's still going.
He's Ming the Merciless. So, Max von Sydow is excellent in this film. I love him. And
he downplays it. He downplays it all along.
Yeah.
Everything's very downplayed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it. There's two versions. There's a director's cut, like an extended cut.
One,
and there's a scene in the director's cut that I sort of understand why they cut it for time and for pacing and stuff. But it's towards the end, and it's the two. It's Father Merrin, I think it's Father Michael or just Michael, and they're sat on the stairs, and it's just them exhausted, like they've been battered by this, and it's that sort of like taking a breather before they go back in, and there's this. It's just a moment before they go back in. They just look at each other, and it's like that. Right, we've got to keep this going, and it's.
That's the director's cut when she's walking on the ceiling. Is that right?
Downstairs. No, downstairs like a spider.
Upside.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In the music, it's really good. But I can see why that scene was cut. But putting it back in, it's not a hell yeah moment, anything like that. But it's you feel for them, like they aren't going to stop.
Yeah,
they know they've got what they've got to do, and it's that sort of like, so when the ending happens, there's almost that we knew this was going to be the case. Like we knew someone wasn't going to make it through this, and that's the price we've had to pay. Excellent film. Excellent film. I don't think there's, like you said about Shaun of the Dead, I'm not so comparing them, but it's one of those films that if you're a horror fan and you haven't seen it,
you're not a horror fan.
Then you're not a horror fan. Like this is an excellent film.
Do you know the interesting thing about The Exorcist is that everyone assumes that it was banned. Never was.
Oh really?
It was taken off the shelf, but never actually banned.
So why was it taken off the shelf? Was it because of the assumed?
Because there was a religious uprising against it. The classification.
Oh well, yeah, I know all the cinemas in America were protested.
Yeah, totally. A protest outside. The Classification Act came in, and the video nasty was taken off the shelf, and I think the PBFC actually said, "Look, if you don't take this off the shelf, we're going to do it for you." So, and it still had a certificate X. It was uncertified.
Yes.
Uncertifiable, which didn't mean it was banned. It meant it was uncertifiable.
But it's one of those films that, like you say, when you watch it in 2016, if you sit down and watch this film, it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in that, yes, there's some, head spinning around and there's some bits and pieces. I can see why it's an 18 in many respects. But they're not the bits that get to you. And like in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you never actually see anyone dice and slice and all that sort of thing.
No.
It's the tension and the suggestion and just the pure horror of the situation that gets under your skin. And it's the same thing of, it's not overt.
No. I remember Texas Chainsaw when he opens the door and he hits the man on the head with the hammer.
Yeah, and drags him in and shuts the door.
That's it. That's all you see, and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It's that same thing. And I think that's... I'd put The Omen in that same thing. I'm really a big fan of The Omen.
Omen's great.
The original Omen. The whole of that film, there's barely any gore. There's any gore. There's a decapitation of other bits and pieces. But that film's all about tension. And again, about faith and being sort of challenged. And again, I'm not a religious film, but I like that idea of
Sam Neill as well.
Well, no, what's his name? Peck.
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck.
Yeah, but Sam Neill is Damien.
Is Damien? He is later on. Yeah, good point. But in the first one and stuff, like it's about he's been told his son is evil and you've got to kill him. It's that sort of thing of like, well, how far have you got to be pushed before you believe that?
I know my son is evil.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna kill him, dude. It's like you are kidding me.
But there's when you watch these films and if you look at the dates of that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Exorcist, The Omen, so they're all 70s films. It's where you were allowed to have slow build up. You were allowed to sort of take your time. That would not fly.
No, totally not.
Nowadays,
totally
like
not.
looking at things like The Conjuring and other horror films that have come out recently, like, you cannot do that anymore, which is a real shame because I think these are the ones that get under your skin.
People haven't got the patience they had.
Which is a real shame
because they've been spoiled. They've been spoiled by films that are flashbang in your face.
Yeah, it's the Michael Bay
not
editing.
necessarily. Well, I see where you're coming from. But you look at films like Hostel. There's no build up to Hostel.
No, it just starts.
Shock value films.
Yeah. It's shock. I mean, maybe it's
shock horror is now a genre of
Yeah.
film. Is shock horror. I think we mentioned something earlier on. Whereas things you've got slasher movies,
Yes.
you've got haunted movies, but now you've also got shock horror
Yeah.
movies. And because of the introduction of shock horror, people want
that.
the quickness.
They want to just
story.
get.
They
Want
want the
to
story
get
to
going.
develop very quick.
When am I going to see someone's guts on the floor? Sort of
Yeah,
thing.
you're not going to get films like Poltergeist anymore. You're not going
No.
to get films, even Conjuring. You know, so I like The Conjuring. Okay.
The first one's all right.
First
I
one's
haven't
great.
seen the second
Second
one.
one I've seen. Second one's not as good.
No.
The first one was quite enjoyable. I don't like Sinister. Sinister is a pointless waste of time as far as I'm concerned.
I haven't seen the second one.
Oh, the second one's worse.
The first one was watchable, but
First one's good because Ethan Hawke's in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's good.
But it's the same with Insidious. Like, I can't stand those films. I think
Insidious,
they're
I didn't get. Insidious was.
It's all over the place. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's just like no, and then the sequels go backwards, and you're like, oh.
I haven't even watched sequels. I've seen the first one. I was like, I'm not watching. I can't bring myself to watch them. I get why people like them, but they're not for me.
But even in films like that, which are similar to Poltergeist and similar to The Exorcist, you know, in its styling, there's no slow build-up.
No. I know what you're saying.
What was you going to say?
I was going to say, actually, think about, you know what you're saying then? Like, the only, I was just thinking in my head, you know what you're saying about they don't exist anymore, those films. The only films I can think of in recent history where they've been given that slow build-up and not a great deal has happened, or it's all been about suggestion, Blair Witch Project,
Yeah.
and possibly I'd say the first Paranormal Activity.
Oh yeah, you're going to get me on this now.
Oh no, I'm not going to say no. I like
what I mean is that Paranormal Activity is singly the most mundane waste of my life ever. You know, whereas I just watch like bedclothes come off and I just watch, there's a noise, he disappears outside the room, he comes back inside the room, nothing happens, right to the end of the film, and it's like, Jesus, really?
I really enjoy the first one.
Oh man,
I've seen all of them now,
but they build it up to a small payoff. It's like
yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
it's the tension, it's the journey I enjoy rather than the destination of that film.
Think of it as a wrestling match. Whereas you have two wrestlers going around the ring and they don't actually lock up. They just constantly bounce around in a circle, and then he hits him with a clothesline and he downs him, and that's the end of the film. And you're like, really? All the build up, and it was like, no.
It's that I see what you're saying, and I can get what you're saying from that sort of point of view. If you're going to use the wrestling analogy, then that sort of for me that sort of the films like Insidious and the more modern films are basically your bump monkeys. They're the people that go in and go, look what I can do! Bang, 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 flick, jump, you know.
Constantly spot fest.
Yeah,
that's all they
and that tires me out because I'm like, I need to get to know the people. I actually think I prefer the slow burn. I think I can see why people, and I know a lot of people that can't stand Paranormal Activity. I quite like. I've watched all of them. I think the fourth one is god awful. The marked ones was pretty good. I haven't seen the latest one. But I can see why people don't like them.
Yeah, there's no payoff.
Okay. But all right, let's just drop that then. But Blair Witch Project is again a film where you it's no great payoff because you don't see anything, but the whole film is built on tension.
No.
Do you know why?
No, the whole film was built on publicity.
No, I'm talking about if you watch the film. No, I'm not talking about the build of the film. I'm talking about the whole film. If you watch the film, if you sit down and watch the film,
no one went
cold,
to see. No, that's the thing. No one went to see Blair Witch cold. Okay.
No, but now they are. New people are coming to that film.
New
coming
people
to
are coming
cold.
to that now because they know of the old film.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. The problem with Blair Witch is when Blair Witch came out, there was so much hype behind it. Oh, there's this film coming out. It's got footage, and there was so much hype behind it that you went there to see what this is all about, and you already went there with a preconception. Well, what's all this all about then? So you already went there with that thing. It wasn't kind of like there wasn't anything. It was a huge publicity thing.
I agree with that people fell down the rabbit hole. It's one of the first true viral marketing kind of situations.
Yeah.
But I still think that as a film, you can watch it and get drawn up in the tension and the fear and everything of it.
Yeah,
It's
I
worth
can understand-
it's worth
I
a
can understand
revisit.
that.
It's worth a revisit, and I would love.
I do need to watch it again because I watched the remake. Well, not the remake, but
the reboot.
No, it's not a reboot.
It's a
no.
sequel.
It's it's
Okay, it's a sequel.
story.
I've not
it
seen
links
it.
into the first film, so
Okay.
it's very good in that sense. But it's to me, it's the first film done again.
Like Force
Gives you in the
Awakens.
story. Yeah.
They call them
How dare you,
legacy.
sir.
They call them legacy sequels.
Oh, okay.
It's a legacy sequel. Creed.
I
You know,
I
it's
started
basically
watching
Rocky.
Creed, and I
love
thought
Creed. It's a great film.
I started watching
Bit
Creed.
off
And I went, okay.
I can see what you're saying. I would love to sit down with someone who's not been part of the hype and doesn't know, and get them to watch Blair Witch and see what the reaction is. It'd be interesting to see.
I was never part of the hype. I was never part of the hype. I watched that film. Never part of the hype. I heard people say different things, and I thought, well, I don't. You know, I don't.
Yeah, you're not a hype person.
I'm not a hype person at all. You know, I'll make my own judgments and stuff.
Yeah.
I watched it. I thought it was an okay film. Was the payoff any good? Not really. It wasn't a great payoff. I mean, nothing really happens at the end. You know, it's just like, oh, someone in the corner room, camera falls, there's a scream, end of film. You're like, really?
I do get this.
The rest of the film was better than the payoff. Right?
I will be.
But it was a slow build up, and you're right.
Yes, I will give you. I'll give you an analogy that I heard on another
I was
show.
going to say something then. That really wasn't.
This
gonna-
is someone said it's basically it's a cinematic prick tease. It's like a beautiful woman teasing you, and just as you're about to sort of like, you know.
How have you got that analogy ever?
So I didn't get it. Someone told me.
Yeah, okay.
But I've heard this. You're teasing, and then them walking away, and you're left there going, "I got blue balls."
Blue balls.
Where's the payoff? So I agree
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you are left a little bit like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still want. I would like to go back to that 70s thing of, and maybe it's cyclical. Maybe it will come through again. That like those films will come through again.
Music has a kind of a 20-year
Yeah.
cycle, doesn't it? You know, whereas you got like the 80s music came back in the noughties, and,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, stuff like that. And the 90s music started to come back.
Yeah.
So you know, maybe we'll get to that stage with films as well, whereas we get that. You know, instead of reboots, we get
Yeah.
the styling.
There's one I've got. I bought it the other day, and I'm really looking forward to watching it. Hopefully this weekend. It's called The Changeling.
Oh,
and it's-
Angelina Jolie.
No,
the original one.
the 1980 one.
The one with the wheelchair.
Yeah. And I've never heard, but I've heard loads of good things about it, and I'm really looking forward to watching that. And that's another apparently like slow burn,
Is
good
it DVD
horror
or
film.
did you buy it? on
DVD?
Blu-ray?
Yeah,
Oh,
I got
okay.
it from Amazon for a couple of quid.
It's a good film.
Yeah, a lot of people heard
It's a good
about it. So my final choice, and the last final choice because I didn't know what your reaction to this would be, is Hellraiser. I was saying I'm a big Clive Barker fan. I'm actually not a big Clive Barker fan. I'm an early Clive Barker fan. I love the Books of Blood. I love the Damnation game.
Cabal.
Cabal's good. Hellbound Heart is a good novella. And then after that, the guy needs an editor. His books are just so overblown, and they're such. Weave World is, they've got like such great concepts in, but I can only get halfway before I'm like, we're still going with this.
Yeah. It seems he doesn't know which direction to go with.
I've got a copy of a Magica at home, and it's.
I've never read that one.
I don't know if I will, and I was like, it's over 1,000 pages long, but that isn't what puts me off because I've read it, and it's over 1,000. Stephen King's It is over 1,000 pages.
Oh,
and
man,
I blew.
Don't get me started on it.
And I blew through that, and I think it's a great book.
Great book, crap film.
Well, we'll go into that in another podcast. We'll do that when the new one comes out next year.
Oh, there's a new one out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
your West Dream come true.
Tim Curry's great in that. I'm sorry, but
absolutely
anyway,
brilliant,
we'll save it for another discussion.
Yeah.
But his later stuff, I think, is great. Good concept.
Who, Tim Curry?
No, Clive Barker.
Oh, okay.
Good concept. Always slightly weak execution. So I don't know. I always go off him as an author. His books on film though, have actually been pretty good for the most part. They're never massive successes or massive blockbusters.
Did you see Book of Blood?
Books of Blood was quite good. I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
I like Lord of Illusion with Sam Bakula.
I love Lord of Illusion. I think
Yeah.
very underrated. Great Clive.
Totally
Barker
agree.
film.
Midnight Meat Train.
Yes, yeah.
Good film.
We've discussed, yeah.
Yeah. There's a terrible one called Rawhead Rex in it.
Oh God, that was years before Hellraiser.
Yeah. And that's not terrible. It's not great, but it's worth a watch. What else? Like you say, a Nightbreed.
Yeah, Nightbreed,
Great film.
very hard to find.
Yeah, there's a director's cut knocking around somewhere. I really want to get a hold of. I think he is one of these people that is. You see his art. He's a very visual person, and he directed Hellraiser. He wrote it. He took his novella, turned it into a script, and then turned it into a film. And I see that Clive Barker is more visual than he is literary. And I think I almost think like he's a lost talent. I would love to have seen him to be given a load of budgets and be like, just go make some messed up films. You go make what you want to make, because you're more visual than you know. Whatever he would have made would have been amazing.
Is he British?
He is British from Liverpool. He's from Liverpool. And I just wish there'd been more of that. And Hellraiser to me is, again, it's that slow burn that, for all intents and purposes, not a great deal happens, you know, in bits and pieces of it. But then it's so horrific in others. You know, the story being that you get a couple moving into a house that belonged to the husband's brother, or no, they've inherited it and stuff, and the brother's bogged off and they can't find him, so he's the black sheep of the family, and you find out that the wife has had an affair with them. All these other bits and pieces, all very melodramatic. But the brother found the lament configuration, the box, and this box unleashes the gates of hell, and it will, you know, you will find out the limits of pleasure and pain and everything else. And it's just a great concept, and the box itself is amazing. But he's been torn apart. He's literally torn apart.
Yeah, it's great.
Which is a great sequence. But you, at that point, I love the fact that you never really see, for the most part, you never see the Cenobites. And the film opens, and I watched this not too long ago. The film opens, and you see, and there's like all these torture devices, knives, and all this other stuff, and bits of
rotating,
but then bits of face, like they've just cut someone's face off, just sat on a table, and you just see a finger knock these things, and all this other stuff, and you know something horrific is coming. And then basically when they're moving in, the husband cuts his thumb, and a bit of his blood falls on the floor.
No, it's his arm. It's his hand.
His hand or something. Yeah.
And
he gets a bit of blood on the floor, and the brother is able to use that.
Flipping horrific. When he catches his nail and he's moving the bed, isn't he?
Yeah. He's carrying something through.
You see the shot. It's just.
And this is what I mean. Something as simple as getting a cut on your arm, Clive Barker makes it look. It looks brutal.
Yeah.
But the effect that leads to then is the jelly-like skeleton that comes through the floor.
Yeah.
I can't remember the brother's name now for the life of me, but he breaks through the floor and he comes out.
Trevor?
I can't remember now.
Oh, gosh.
But he breaks through, and obviously he's skinless. It comes through, and all the stuff starts to climb down. It just screams, and then just pulls itself into the corner to suffer this sort of half life. And then you find out that the only way he can become human again is to take the life essence, like the blood and everything, from other people.
Other humans, yeah.
So then the evil stepmother wife has to go off and starts luring these men back. But the effects, when you see, at first it's like it is just a puppet, animatronic. But then when you see him and it's a bloke in makeup and he's covered in like that muscle and blood vessels and everything,
yeah.
It is like scream-inducing, but it looks amazing.
It's a film that had to come out at that time in order to still be out.
Oh, you couldn't do it.
No, you couldn't.
Again,
do it
you couldn't do you couldn't do Hellraiser 1 now. I just don't think they could do.
Well, they keep talking about remaking it, don't they?
I wish they would. The thing let's put this into context, really. The true star of this, and this is again the problem with the Homer effect, that the story is actually about this one bloke breaking out of hell and trying to, so he can get away, and then you find Kirsty finds the lament configuration,
It's
and
quite hot.
she is. She finds the lament configuration, and then it brings in the Cenobites. Now the Cenobites are not slasher murderers.
No.
They're not anything. They are basically they're almost like side to the story.
Yeah, the servants.
But they are just like, they aren't anything. They're not the key.
No, they're peripheral characters.
That's what they're supposed to be. Peripheral characters. They get minimal. But what's his name? Bradley. What's it? Bradley.
Not Bradley Walsh.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper.
No.
Doug Bradley.
Doug Bradley. Oh, yeah, does plays Pinhead in such a fantastic way of almost being bored.
Such a middle class Pinhead.
Yeah, it is, but he is. It's
we
totally
have such sights to show.
Yeah, I will tear your soul apart. But it's such a sort of monotone, almost bored,
phenomenal
performance.
Oh, totally.
But that's the problem. The Homer effect is everyone jumps on that. Oh, it's Pinhead's the true thing of this. Shift him to centre, and then you get the crap that is Hellraiser 3. Because there's still relatively peripheral characters in Hellraiser 2, but then by Hellraiser 3, it's become a
Hell on Earth.
Hell on Earth.
Which focuses on the Cenobites.
It does. Yeah. And you get the crap ones like the video camera Cenobite and the DVD Cenobite and some other stuff. It becomes utter garbage. But those first two films, but particularly the first film, is a perfect representation of what the Cenobites should be. They do not care about us. We are their plaything. And if you open that lament configuration, they're like, oh, well, welcome aboard. We're now going to basically tear to pieces for our own entertainment.
Totally.
That's all it is. They should not have any real motivation. And the fact they don't care until Kirsty Cotton, that's the name, Kirsty Cotton, until she tells them, I know that this bloke's escaped, and they're a bit like, no one escapes from us. Oh yeah, no, I can prove it. They don't care. They're just like, what do we?
Kirsty Cotton, is that her name? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Has she done anything else?
No, that's the character's name.
Oh right, okay.
That's the character name. But I love the fact that that's what we are, and you get the 4 Cenobites, and I mean the only reason he's not called Pinhead in the film at all. He's never referred to. Even in the credits, it's only later. He's called the Priest. But then they're referred to as Pinhead, Chatterer, Butterball, the fat one, and the lady. I think it's just called the lady, isn't he? And she's got that thing from her neck and stuff. And the design is pure Clive Barker. That sort of sadomasochistic, leather chains and all that kind of thing. And there's almost like a sensual violence to it all.
Yeah. I mean, the girl that plays the lady in the Lady Cenobite, she's quite hot as well.
She's very attractive in real life. Yeah.
And that kind of elongates the message of this pleasure pain type thing, because if you were to put someone like Heather out of EastEnders in that, it wouldn't have had the same effect. But you put someone like her, who is quite a petite and nice looking woman as well, your sex sells. So, and then Doug Bradley being the person he was, and the other two, you don't really matter about them because they're more prosthetics than anything else. But it's such a really interesting set of Cenobites.
Yeah.
You've got the fat one, you've got the Chatterer, which is the scary one.
Yeah, no face apart from teeth.
Yeah, you've got the sexy
the
one,
lady.
And you've got then the well-spoken, domineering one.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing I love about this is it's called Hellraiser. But there's no indication of heaven or hell. That there, and it even says in it, we are angels to some, demons to others.
Yeah.
There is no religion in this. They just exist.
Yeah.
They are something exists on some plane, and whilst they're there, they can do whatever the hell they want. That's their existence, and it's never explained. You never understand. I mean, later on, it's explained in other films that they were human and they became these Cenobites. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh, the soldier and
and you find the only one that really interests me is you find out that the Chatterer was a boy When they turn back into their original characters, the Chatterer turns into a little boy. That's weird and slightly fascinating.
That was in Hellraiser 2,
yeah. But in Hellraiser, they just exist. And when they come back and get the brother.
Oh, great film, by the way, Hellraiser 2.
Yeah.
I just remember in the film in my head now. I think it's a good film.
2's really good. Yeah, but when Kirsty comes back, I'm not going to throw up. She comes back and she finds that her dad's been skinned, and the brother is now wearing his skin, and he leans into it in a really pervy way. Come to daddy.
Yeah,
and it is messed up. I mean that to me is like perfect Clive Barker on film.
No, totally.
It's that sort of there's a real perverseness to it, and an unleashed kind of sort of like imagination, but the thought of the cinema is like terrifies me. Like as a concept, you're like, these things just do not care about us.
It's a strange, screwed up head that's come from.
Oh yeah.
That's just. That's another level right there,
Yeah.
I mean, not even I couldn't come up with something as tick and twisted as that.
No, I mean, he's written some of his books, the concepts in them. I think I'd love to see Weave World in a film.
Yeah.
Cold Heart Canyon could be quite interesting. Really cut down because there's a core story in that's quite good, but the rest is fluff.
Mm-hmm.
The Damnation Game is the one I'd love to see. Damnation Game is a fantastic.
Well, that's an extension of Hellraiser anyway, isn't it?
It sort of exists in a similar world. They're sort of referenced. I think the thing is, when you look at the Damnation Game, and when you look at early Clive Barker, some of Clive Barker, and then I look at like Neil Gaiman, I almost see them sort of like there's a weird sort of like urban horror fantasy element that weaves between the two of them, which I think is quite interesting. But I'd love to do more on Clive Barker on screen, and we will have to at some point. So just to run through then, so let's just run back. So we've got yours, American Werewolf in London, The Descent, Creep, Shaun of the Dead, and House of a Thousand Corpses. Mine are Beetlejuice, Hellraiser, The Exorcist, Child's Play, and Poltergeist.
I'll get the popcorn.
So yeah, I think let's get these rolling.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, everyone, and happy Halloween. If you've got any suggestions of what you would like to see as a Halloween top 5, please make contact at 20th Century Geek on Twitter, or contact me at 20thcenturygeek@gmail.com, or find me under 20th Century Geek on Facebook. Thank you very much, and have a spooktacular time.